Dear Mr. A&R, we all struggling artists. Realize the world is cold, but we came here to spark it. Swimming little guppies in a sea full of sharks. It's gonna take a miracle to not end up park.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Six with Ian and Thomas. That explains my next point. This is kind of unconventional. We're doing this now because this is the only time we can do it today, but we want to make sure we get an episode on for you. It's quite an interesting week. The table has been shaken up a bit. There were some very good games.
Yes.
And some sort of disappointing games, in my opinion.
And there were some that were a little surprising.
Yes. I want to start off and talk about Norwich.
Norwich?
Because Norwich is obviously a newly promoted team. And their star striker currently has 4 goals in 2 games.
It's been the Pookie show. He actually made Team of the Week.
I'm not surprised by that.
With Sadio Mane behind him, and I don't remember, but he made Team of the Week.
He scored a hat trick against Newcastle.
He's making a name for himself. I mean, it's his first time in the Premier League, and he showed that he's ready to be here, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean the goals that he's scoring, they're not Harry Kane goals, or they're not tap-ins.
These are goals, man.
I mean, they're like straight up rips, half volleys. I mean, top bin goals.
Yeah.
It's and I mean, this guy's. I want to see he's an older guy too.
He's not a young dude. I mean, he's not.
I mean, he's 29.
Yeah.
So he's I guess he's peaking. And I mean, what a time to peak. I mean, with a team that just promoted.
Yeah.
I mean, your first season in the Premier League. I mean, go to town with it, bro. I mean, have fun. And I mean, he is. I mean, you could tell that he's having fun. He is taking the opportunities that he has and running away with them. Newcastle, obviously, they're continuing to struggle from last season.
And the hat trick that Pookie scored against Newcastle was Norwich's first hat trick since 1989, I think it was. It's the first Premier League hat trick for Norwich in 30 years. So, yeah. And it was a dominant hat trick. And, not to take anything too much away from Newcastle. They're still struggling. But John Joe Shelby scored a pretty good goal at the end. It was a consolation.
In added time.
It was an extra time. And, and it was something for them to take home. I mean, they didn't get any 3 points, but they got on the scoreboard anyway. So, and it was a good goal, too. I mean, John Joe Shelby is not one of the best players out there. But he's typically a pretty solid guy. Mm-hmm. He's fairly dependable.
He's more of a defensive player anyways.
Yeah, but he's a solid midfielder,
mm-hmm.
and you can see a difference in Newcastle when he's not playing. It's kind of like the U.S. national team years ago with Michael Bradley. Didn't score a ton of goals, but he controlled the midfield really well.
So, I think Michael Bradley's still that player for the U.S. men's national team. He's a very pivotal player. Depending on how well he does, it kind of shows.
True.
If he's pushing forward, the U.S. is doing well.
Yeah.
If he's hanging too far back, then it shows.
Yeah. Yeah. They end up in trouble.
Yeah. I want to talk about Arsenal as well.
Arsenal
had a pretty close game with Burnley. There was it was
a 2-1 win over Burnley.
Yep, Lacazette and Aubameyang
at the Emirates
both had goals.
Yeah.
Another point I wanted to talk about from that game. There are only 2 players who have scored more goals in 2019 than Ashley Barnes. It was Sadio Mane and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty big league to be in. I mean, that's some serious company. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Sadio Mane, Golden Boot winners from last year, and then in third place you got Ashley Barnes. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's pretty solid. Let's see if we can keep it going. Burnley's not really a team to be trifled with too much.
They had a struggle season last year.
Yeah.
And I think what it was is they had the Europa League qualifications. It tired them out, and they just couldn't get back on track.
Yeah.
They kind of almost didn't focus on the Premier League enough, and it showed. But they were able to fight enough, keep enough points there, and stay in the Premier League to keep fighting. Maybe they can, hopefully get in Europa League qualifications again here sometime soon. I love seeing these smaller teams, in these European qualifications.
Yeah.
Seeing Wolverhampton, what they're doing right now, it's exceptional to be able to see that.
Yeah, especially what they did to United on Monday.
That
was actually a pretty surprising. The way Manchester United played week 1, I thought Wolves are going to have a little bit of trouble, and I don't think that they didn't have trouble.
I think,
but they stayed in the fight.
Yeah, well, Wolves is not a team to mess with this year.
Yeah,
they are going to give everything every minute on the pitch.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about that team.
They are a very aggressive, very strong team, and they are able to. They're able to push for stuff like that. They know what it means to be back in the Premier League because they dropped through. I believe they went to League 2 at one point, and they fought themselves back up to be able to get this opportunity, and they're not wasting it.
No.
So good on Wolves, good on Nuno to keep pushing his boys.
Yeah.
Aston Villa Bournemouth was kind of an interesting game. It wasn't the result I was hoping for. I tend to root for the small newly promoted teams. I want to see them do well.
Yeah.
Aston Villa aren't doing terribly. A 2-1 loss to Tottenham and a 2-1 loss to Bournemouth. Obviously, there's no points in there, but they've scored some goals.
But they're scoring goals.
And Jack Grealish, I believe he was actually man of the match for this game, despite his team losing. I think he's slowly maturing. He's kind of being able to pick up bits and pieces of the Premier League, and I think he's going to be able to put it together here pretty soon and start picking up points for his team.
And in all honesty, I think you'll know that Jack Grealish is starting to mature more and grow into Premier League style of play when he gets rid of that stupid headband. Anyways.
Another really good game. I was kind of sad that it ended in a draw. Was Brighton West Ham, and it 1-1. Both kind of smaller teams. Brighton's doing pretty good this season. They're currently top half the table. I know it's 2 weeks in. Doesn't mean anything right now, but they're fighting for points. They were able to get
that gives teams confidence.
Yeah,
even though it's only match day 2,
they were able to get a big win their first week. They got a fairly good draw, so they haven't lost the game yet. That's more than what some teams can say. But no, Brighton's doing pretty good. West Ham's doing okay. I think West Ham are going to struggle a little bit this season. They didn't make very many moves in the transfer window, and I was kind of disappointed in that. But we'll have to wait and see as the season progresses. It's like I said, it's still very early on, and we have to wait. Everton got their first points over Watford. Liverpool had quite a scare against Southampton.
Yeah, I think Adrian's nerves. He ended up playing very similarly to Alisson when he first came to Liverpool. Maybe just a little too cocky. Trying too hard to be relaxed. He got away with a mistake in the first half, and in the second half he did the exact same thing, and it cost him. It cost him the clean sheet. And he knew it immediately. And you could see, when I was watching that match and they showed the replay, you could see Virgil van Dijk, off on the left side, and he bent over and he was on his knees on the ground, just like the oh crap, come on.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a rookie mistake. I mean, it was a little bit of a bush league thing to do, especially when you got away with it in the first half. That doesn't mean do it again.
Exactly.
That means, okay, I shouldn't try that again. Especially he had open players left and right, and he decided to just kind of softly pass the ball down the middle, and it was pounced on immediately.
I will say this, as a goalkeeper, that skill of being able to play out of the back isn't as easy as it looks. It's not a hard skill to learn, but it's a very, very, very difficult skill to master. Being able to get that ball, you have somebody rushing at you who, I mean, this is probably one of the fastest players on their team running at you at full pace trying to get this ball. It can be kind of intimidating sometimes. And I think you're right. I think his nerves just got to him. He wasn't able to make the clean, precise pass that he was looking for. And it cost him a goal, but Liverpool were still able to pick up the 3 points with a 2-1 win.
And it was really kind of a nervy match all the way around for Liverpool. Southampton wasn't giving them anything, and you could kind of see, getting close to the end, it was looking like a 2-0 loss for them, but they didn't, like some teams you can just see it in their body movement, they're like, okay, we lost. Southampton didn't do that. They never gave up. And they almost nicked the point, I mean, they pushed. I mean, once they got that goal, I mean, they were immediately back in the match. And they knew it. They felt it. They're like, oh, we can get something out of this. Let's keep pushing. And they did. Liverpool ended up holding them off. Adrian kind of settled down a little bit.
And despite the one mistake, or the two mistakes Adrian had, he had a very good game. He had some amazing saves. It was the one mistake that everybody's going to remember from that game, unfortunately.
Right. No clean sheet bonus.
The result of the week, in my opinion, Man City Tottenham. This game was the namesake for this episode's title, The Future of VAR. That game ended up 2-2. But there was a goal called back. It was, I believe, right in stoppage time, if I remember correctly.
It was in extra time, yeah. It would have been a late winner for Man City.
And it got called back because of a handball. VAR, at the beginning of the season, said if there is any handball that leads to a goal, it will be called back. And after the game, reporters, asked Pep Guardiola, how do you feel? And he straight up said, what's there to be angry at? Yeah. It was a handball. Those are the rules that were given to us. Right. What do you want us to do?
And I think I said this last week because it happened to Man City the week before. So that's twice they've had a goal called back because of this rule.
And this one cost them 2 points.
But I said this last week. I appreciate the fact that the FA laid out the rules. This is what's going to happen. And they've stuck to it. I mean, again, it's match week 2. It remains to be seen over the next 36 matches if they stick to it or not. And apparently there's some talk about the ownerships, the owners all getting together because they're not real happy with it. But I don't think the FA is going to concede, and I hope they don't.
Yeah, because it's working well.
Yeah, it's working well. And again, they're sticking to their guns. The referees are calling the match the way they said they were going to. And that's going to improve the game. I don't think VAR, especially, just given that moment, I don't think it took anything away from the game. Man City fans are going to, they're definitely going to debate that, because it cost them 3 points. It cost them 2 points. But again, Pep Guardiola even said there's nothing to be angry at. They said they were going to do it, and they did it.
Which I respect.
Right.
The fact that you, obviously, you should be angry. We should have won this game. But VAR said no, and he's very calm. He's like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
It kind of goes back to what happened in the Liverpool Man City match last season with goal line technology, when Liverpool had a shot on goal and it was this close to going over the line, but goal line technology said it didn't fully cross.
Right.
The rules are the rules. They are explicitly laid out. I don't understand why teams and fans should be mad that the rules are being followed.
Right.
Because if it were to happen and to have helped Liverpool last season, Liverpool fans wouldn't have been.
They wouldn't have a problem with
They wouldn't have
technology.
exactly.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been a problem with it at all.
They would be praising it.
Right.
So I mean, it kind of goes both ways. You can't be biased because it helps or hurts your team.
Exactly. You got to take the emotion out of it. You know, I mean, I understand you want to support your team. I mean, I'm a Liverpool supporter, and yeah, that bummed me out because it was that meant that could have been the difference between winning the season and coming in second. It is what it is. And like Thomas said, the rules are explicitly laid out. They said they were going to do it. They're doing it. If you're mad about that, then nobody can help you.
Yeah. But for the future of VAR, I think the FA is moving it in the right direction.
Agreed.
They looked at what happened during the Women's World Cup, and they basically said, yeah, let's not do that because that was awful.
Right.
And they're changing it. They've kind of adjusted it so instead of making the center ref go and look at a video every time,
right,
they actually have another center ref. Highly officiated or awarded, I guess, center ref up in the booth as well.
Right.
Making the decisions.
Yeah.
Talking to the people down on the pitch saying, hey, this happened. You should call it back. This is what we think. And it's working. It's very quick. Yeah. It's very effective. And it's I haven't seen any VAR called that was changed be wrong yet. It's very, very, very accurate.
Yeah. And I don't think it's had any negative impact on the game at all. Now, during the Women's World Cup, yeah, it was horrible. Because they re-refereed every moment. And that's not what VAR was meant to do. The Bundesliga has been using it for a couple of seasons now, and they use it very well, too. And I think so far in the Premier League, it's being used the way I feel that it should be used. It's not to re-referee the match. You've got a center referee, you've got two assistant referees, and you've got a fourth official who are all watching the game. And these guys are experienced. They've been doing this a long time.
But they miss things.
And they miss things. But VAR is not even meant to do that. It's to reconcile if there is a clear and obvious error. That's it. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna change. Oh, you called the foul there, and it should have been a yellow card. You need to go look at it. They're not gonna do that. The center referee still has final say.
It does check red cards.
Yes,
but I mean stuff like that. I mean, I think I'm okay with because it protects the players.
Right.
Or like handballs. I think a handball is a clear and obvious error.
Right.
If it's not called and it leads to a goal, it's kind of.
And the big change, even with handling, is they said if intentional or not, mm-hmm. they're not worried about, well, his hand was at his side, it was in a natural position. It doesn't matter. If it deflects the ball that results in a goal, they're going to call it back.
Which was a big part of the Women's World Cup is, how do we, figure out whether or not this is a natural position? Premier League was like, just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it.
If it's a handball, it's not a goal.
Right.
Done deal. And it's like I said, I think it's working out really well this season.
I agree. I'm happy with it.
Hopefully, it'll continue to work out well.
We've got 36 matches to see.
Sheffield United was able to pick up 3 points this week against Crystal Palace, and they were very well-deserved points. Palace did not look good. They didn't look bad.
They didn't look bad.
But
Sheffield was definitely better.
Sheffield was definitely the better team. I think Roy Hodgson has a lot of problems in his ranks, and he has a lot to sort out. It's going to take a while. I think Palace are a good team. They have a good set of players.
Sure.
They just don't. They're not consistent, and that's been a problem for them for the past 2 seasons, unfortunately.
And it's like some of the other teams in the league. They've got a lot of people who are really good at what they do. They're just not doing it together. Mm-hmm. Wilfried Zaha is a really good player. I think he's just depending on himself too much. He's not playing as a team player. I understand these guys want to win Golden Boot. They want to be man of the match. They want to score a ton of goals. I get it. I want to score a ton of goals too. But at the same time, I mean, it's a team sport, and I don't think they really have that 100%. I think they're maybe at 95%. Then I don't know. I don't even know how I'm, enumerating that, but whatever. I don't know how to quantify, how a team is. But I think that's their biggest issue. They have skill, they have talent. I think their discipline's lacking. Is really what it comes down to. And I think that's the big difference between, teams like Palace and Southampton, and nothing against these teams. I'm not slighting them at all. Between those teams and teams like Liverpool and Manchester City, the discipline is there. They're very regimented, especially in Manchester City.
Yeah.
They are an absolute machine. And Liverpool does pretty well with that too. And Manchester United looks like they might have what it takes. They didn't get the result they wanted, this past week.
I have my own comments on why that is, though.
Well, go for it. That's what we're here for, man.
For the United game, I believe the reason that Man United didn't win is because Paul Pogba took the penalty. Paul Pogba has a horrible track record.
It's like Shaquille O'Neal with 3-pointers. They're just not there.
Give it to Marcus Rashford. Give it to Anthony Martial. You have so many other players who have a fairly good track record with penalties. Yeah. I can think of, I want to say like three different occasions last season that Paul Pogba missed penalties.
Yeah, he's got a terrible track record with it. And it's time that Solskjaer learned that. And I think it's time that, the players around him learn that. Like, listen, we know you're Paul Pogba. We know you're BA. But you can't shoot penalties. So we're going to let Marcus Rashford do it, or Anthony Martial. We're going to let these guys do it because they have a much better record scoring penalties. That was the difference between 1 point and 3 points.
That was it. That was the reason that Man United didn't win,
right?
In my opinion. Wolves looked really good, but United looked dangerous this season.
Yeah, they really do.
They made moves this transfer window, and it is paying off significantly.
Yeah, we gave them a lot of grief last season, and they deserved it. Not because I'm a Liverpool guy, and we just don't like Manchester United. I have friends who are United fans. Macrophonic MC, our buddy who does our music, is a big United fan, and I don't cut him any slack on it. It's a terrible idea to be a United fan, but they really do look like they're going to be a top 4. I'll say that they're going to be at least top 4 at the end of the season. Because they do look dangerous, and I do enjoy that. We've got teams that everybody calls the big 6, and United's one of them. It just takes some of the heart out of the game when you got a big 6 team that's struggling.
Especially a team with so much history behind them.
Yeah.
Because Man United is one of the most decorated clubs in history.
Right.
And to see them struggle, it's sad, because they shouldn't be. They have so much money behind them. They have so many talented players on the pitch. They have a fairly good manager. Solskjaer hasn't cemented himself as an amazing manager yet, but I think he has.
I think he could.
He has the tactics and the ability to do that.
And he's a United legend. He, in his playing days, he played for Manchester United. So yeah, it's kind of I like to see that teams, even though they're bitter rivals of the team I support. I like to see them do well. It makes the league more interesting, because now you got battles. You got when you have it's not really a derby between Liverpool and Manchester United, but it's a bitter historical rivalry. And when Liverpool goes to Old Trafford or United come to Anfield, the atmosphere is ridiculous. I've not seen it live yet. I will. But even on TV, the energy is there, and that's what makes this game and this league so special to me, because of atmospheres like that. These teams are 150 years old, 125 years old, and they've been rivals the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So to see them do well just gives that much more energy to the game. So good for them, but sorry you didn't get 3 points. And go Liverpool.
One last game, Chelsea, Leicester City. It's not looking good for Chelsea this season. I think Frank Lampard has a lot to work on, but a lot to work with.
I was going to say, he's got a lot to work with, though.
He's using a lot of youth right now, which I'm actually kind of excited with, because it shows that there's a big future for Chelsea. For example, Michy Batshuayi and Tony Rudiger just played with the U23 teams and bashed the Liverpool U23 teams. And these are players we've already seen before. We've seen their talents, but they need to get back up to pace and be able to be with the main squad again. It's something that hopefully I'm hoping we'll see Batshuayi by the end of the season. He is one of my favorite players. When I heard he was going out on loan those 2 times, I was very disappointed.
I think that was a really bad decision.
I think it was
Antonio Conte.
Terrible decision from Antonio Conte and Maurizio Sarri, because Maurizio Sarri loaned him out to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I think being able, especially to get Tony Rudiger back in the center back, the central defense, it's going to be very pivotal. That's going to be a big kind of brick in the wall for the Chelsea defense. It's early in the season. We were able to get our first points. Mason Mount with his first goal, a pretty good goal to be able to push for the challenge, steal the ball, and score. And especially from somebody who's been with Chelsea since he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
To be able to get your first senior goal at Stamford Bridge with Frank Lampard as your manager. Yeah. That's a big moment. So, I think there's a lot going forward for the Blues. I
think they have what it takes. They just got to put the pieces back together.
We've got to find the net a little bit more, and
they will
hopefully not get trounced for.
I think they're going to be top 5.
Top 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are Chelsea. They're typically a pretty formidable team. I think they might be a little shaky in the back because they've lost one of their center halves in the surprise move to Arsenal.
They've lost 2 of their center halves. We lost David Luiz and Tony Rudiger to a knee injury. Oh. So Kurt Zuma and Andres Christensen are good defenders, right, but they're not quite up to standards. They're a little bit rusty because they haven't played in a while.
Yeah, I think that's their biggest issue right now is they just don't have the playing time, and they just don't have the fearlessness that David Luiz had. He was not afraid to make a challenge. We'll see. Don't discount Chelsea. I can't stand them, but don't discount them. I hate them less than I hate Tottenham.
That's true. Screw Tottenham. Anyways, that is all I have.
That's all I have too. The biggest news, I think, as far as transfers and stuff like that. Yeah. Felipe Coutinho is
he's going from FCB to FCB.
Yep. So he is at FC Bayern Munich. Was it a loan move?
It is a loan move with an option to buy.
Yeah.
And he will be getting Arjen Robben's number 10, which is something that the Bayern Munich board actually went to Arjen Robben and said, "Is this okay?" Because they weren't planning on using number 10 or number 7 this season in honor of Robben and Frank Ribery. But Arjen Robben said, "If there is anybody who deserves my number 10, it's him."
Well, there you go. And I think that's going to be a really big move for Felipe Coutinho because he is an absolute magician. And I think Barcelona.
He's got to find the magic a little bit.
I think Barcelona wasted him.
So they kept putting him out on the wing.
Yeah, I think they wasted him. So hopefully at Munich, with being a number 10, he'll be the game changer that I know him to be, and he'll start to give him a little bit of the magic back. So that's the biggest news I've got. That's everything I know to talk about. You guys feel free, send us messages, chime in, tell us what you think. because that's what we want.
We'll probably talk about it if you send us questions.
Yeah.
We'll answer them.
So, but look for us on Facebook, look for us on Instagram, look for us on Twitter. Send
Links
us
in the
messages.
description.
Links are in the description. They're right there.
There.
Hit subscribe to Inside the Six on YouTube. Click the bell so you get the notifications. And check out Macrophonic MC. He's the good friend of ours who lets us use his music for the intro and the outro. He's very talented. He's actually got new stuff in the works. He's working on videos and stuff. So check him out. He's on Google Play, and I'm sure he's on Apple.
There's a link to his music website in the description as well.
So do that. He's a very talented dude. His family has a YouTube channel called Fun23. Check that out too if you're into family stuff. It's really cool. He's got cool kids. He's got a cool wife, and they do cool stuff together. So check that out. Special thanks to them. Special thanks to Thomas. He does the editing, production, directing, whatever. He does all the technical stuff. I just sit here and talk. Check out the t-shirt shop. Buy a t-shirt because they're cool.
And we've said it in the past. We've still got more designs coming in the works. Yeah. It's all about kind of buffing out the...
We're amateurs, man. We'll work on it.
Basically, yeah.
But anyway, so thanks for joining us on Inside the Six with Ian and Thomas. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Dear Mr. A&R, we all struggling artists. Realize the world is cold, but we came here to spark it. Swimming little guppies in a sea full of sharks. It's gonna take a miracle to not end up hard.